So we also have a requirement in HIPAA to review what other people are doing related to patient information. Now, most EHR systems, not employee, but patient record systems, will actually have built into it an audit log. And those audit logs typically produce reports that the administrator of the EHR system can see and should be reviewing on a regular basis. We actually recommend daily. And inside of that, you'll see who went to what record on that particular day. And from that, you can determine if you've got people that are looking at things that they ought not to be looking at. It's a key part, especially in small office practices, that we've got to really be careful about. In a larger office, we would do a lot of deeper regulations on the system to make sure that they can't see things that they're not assigned. So they would have to be assigned to a patient to be able to see that patient's records. But in a small office, we just cannot do that because everybody has to see everything and no one knows who's going to see what and do what. One nurse can be pulled over to work with a doctor on something else. And so we have to keep the system very open, but that's why it's incredibly important to make sure that we're auditing that information. So on a daily basis, we recommend that the security officer, the HIPAA security officer in your organization looks at that report, reviews it, and sees if there's anything that we would call an out-of-band type of activity, behavior that is outside of the norm. Somebody looked at 70 records, and there's no way that they should have done that. Why did they look at 70 records? Somebody's looking at them in an odd time. So we look for things like, did somebody access the records at 3 o'clock in the morning? Why in the world would they be doing that? And so we're reviewing these audit logs. Now we can extend those audit logs not just for the EHR system as a whole, but we actually can also review like logins into the system. Why that's important is because not all patient privacy information, not all of that is contained within the EHR software. Oftentimes it's contained on a PC, on a server. It's a report that was printed out and saved as a PDF. It's a spreadsheet, it's some type of analytical database that's being used. It's an X-ray machine that has X-rays stored onto that machine. Whatever the case may be, there's a lot of different things within a doctor's office, typically, or any practice under HIPAA regulations that may have private data encoded onto it. We need to be auditing all of those and making sure that any login to those, again, is validated and is important. Now, a legitimate use of that information, we don't need to annotate that. We don't need to make any notes on it. What we're looking for is behavior that's outside of the normal boundaries. So you've got to do your review and you need to document that. And again, this is a review that we recommend that is done on a daily basis. It doesn't have to be detailed and doesn't have to be deep. We're talking about probably just a few minutes a day, but we do need to make sure that we've got that file, we've attached the file, we've documented it, we've reviewed it, we've found any discrepancies. It's important to annotate those, and then kind of what our follow-up to those discrepancies were. John logged on at 3 o'clock in the morning. I called and checked. He had insomnia that night and was actually working. Everything is okay. John was asleep at 3 o'clock in the morning. Somebody else logged on as John. That's a problem, and that's a breach that needs to be investigated and perhaps reported. So this is an important part of making sure that we stay within the HIPAA requirements, and it is absolutely something you have to do. It's not an option. This is something that we must do to fulfill the HIPAA mandate.